You think you found your soulmate, the one who gets you, the one who lights up your nervous system with just a look. But Carl Jung would say, you've actually met your most dangerous enemy. Because what you call true love is often just a psychological ambush, an eruption of your unconscious, a trap disguised as transcendence. You didn't fall in love, you got hijacked. The moment your eyes locked, something ancient woke up. Not romance, not magic, but projection. A delusional fantasy your psyche vomited into another human being. Jung called it the anima or animus, the hidden masculine or feminine ideal buried in your unconscious. It doesn't care who they really are, it just uses their face. And the more electric the connection feels, the more likely it is you're in deep psychological danger. You're not drawn to their soul. You're drawn to your own unmet needs, your disowned trauma, your spiritual delusions. And that person you're obsessed with, they're not your savior, they're your mirror. And what you see in them is the monster you've refused to confront in yourself. You're not in love, you're possessed, and it's going to cost you everything. What if the person you love the most is actually the gateway to your personal hell? Carl Jung didn't romanticize love. He studied its pathology, and what he discovered was this. The more intense your infatuation, the more likely you are projecting your own unconscious onto someone else. He wasn't talking about simple attraction. He meant possession. An internal process where your mind takes all its unmet desires, spiritual myths, repressed wounds, and injects them into the body of another. You don't fall for them. You fall for your fantasy of them. Jung called this enantiodromia, the reversal of opposites. The moment you seek light in another, you also summon their shadow. And when that shadow reveals itself, it's always too late. You've already attached, already surrendered, already written your fate. The modern idea of a twin flame is Jung's worst nightmare. Because it masks delusion as destiny. It tells you the chaos is sacred, that the suffering is justified, that your love is meant to be even when it breaks you. But Jung would say the very intensity you worship is the proof it's not love, it's projection. An archetypal hallucination created by your psyche to force you to evolve or destroy you in the process. You believe they're your missing piece, but they are the part of yourself you refuse to integrate. And until you wake up from this illusion, your true love will keep turning into a monster. Not because they changed, but because you never saw them in the first place. She met him during a silent retreat. Of course she did. He was the kind of man who radiated mystery. Dark eyes, deep voice, spoken metaphors. He wasn't loud, but he had gravity. They connected during a walking meditation. No words, just eye contact, electricity, intensity, the kind that makes you forget your name. By day 3, she was convinced he was her soulmate. By day 5, they were in bed. By day 10, she said, "I love you." He didn't say it back, but he didn't need to. She felt it. That's what she told her therapist. It's beyond logic. He sees into my soul. No, he didn't. He barely knew her. But he reflected something ancient inside her, something she hadn't faced. He was her animus projection, the masculine ideal her unconscious had built through decades of pain, abandonment, and longing. He spoke softly but disappeared for days. He'd hold her face with devotion but sleep with other women. He would praise her sensitivity, then call her hysterical, but she stayed. Why? Because he felt sacred. And that's the most dangerous drug of all, when the shadow wears holy clothes. Jung warned of this, that when we repress our spiritual hunger, we inject it into other people. We call them divine. But we're just hungry for meaning, and hungry people hallucinate. She believed his cruelty was karma, that their fights were shadow work, that his betrayal was soul growth. She was wrong. The man didn't awaken her soul. He weaponized it. And deep down, she let him. Because it was easier to worship pain than to face the fact that her fantasy was killing her. He left her without goodbye, blocked her on everything, took her light, and vanished. She had a breakdown, not because he left, but because she had no self left to return to. Jung wouldn't pity her. He'd say she walked straight into her unconscious and refused to come out. Because sometimes the monster isn't in the other, It's the God we create inside them. She started therapy, but only to figure out how to win him back. That's the cruelty of projection. You will sacrifice your dignity, your logic, your sanity, just to maintain the illusion. The therapist asked, "Do you think you were in love with him, or with who you thought he was?" She didn't answer, because she knew. She knew she was never in love with him. She was in love with the idea of being chosen by someone who felt larger than life. Jung called this inflation. When the ego attaches to something so archetypally powerful, it expands beyond proportion. You don't just want love, you want transcendence, you want ecstasy, you want God in human skin. And when that projection cracks, the psyche collapses, because the monster was never him. It was her own hunger made visible. This is the dirty truth of many spiritual relationships. They're just trauma reenactments wrapped in cosmic language. Synchronicities, energy bonds, past lives. It all sounds profound, but it's often just a mask for obsession. Jung believed that every time you fall in love, your unconscious is trying to integrate something. But if you don't know yourself, you won't integrate it. You'll idealize it. And that ideal becomes the very thing that destroys you. He was her animus, the dark knight, the mysterious masculine. He made her feel alive but never safe, worshipped but never loved. And that's the paradox. The more dangerous he became, the more she convinced herself it was fate. But this wasn't fate. This was enmeshment, psychic collapse, unconscious masochism dressed as mysticism. Society won't tell you this. It romanticizes obsession. It sells you the idea that the more painful the love, the more real it must be. And women in particular are told to surrender to love, to endure, to wait, to ache beautifully. But Jung would call that a betrayal of the soul, he said. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul, even destroy themselves in the name of love. She finally left, but not as a heroine, as a wreck, and she realized. He wasn't her twin flame, he was her shadow in disguise, and what she loved in him was everything she had abandoned in herself. You think you're falling in love, but what if you're actually being devoured? This is the core of Jung's psychology of love, that what you call passion is often projection. And projection is not affection, it's possession. You see beauty, depth, magic, but what you're really seeing is your own starvation, your own divinity disowned and outsourced into someone who will never hold it responsibly. You don't love them. You love the version of you that you believe they awaken, and that's why it hurts so much when they leave, not because you lost them, but because you lost the part of yourself you thought they carried. Jung would say, the only way to truly love another is to withdraw the projection, to see them, not as myth, not as mirror, but as mortal. But most people would rather die in the dream than wake up to reality, because reality demands accountability, and projection lets you stay blind. So you keep falling, keep worshiping, keep bleeding, until one day, the monster you thought was them turns out to be the reflection of your own face. The love of your life might not be a blessing, it might be a psychological exorcism. Carl Jung didn't teach you how to find love. He taught you how to survive it. Because love, in its rawest form, reveals everything you've hidden, everything you fear, everything you are. You think they changed, you think they betrayed you, but the truth is darker. They were never who you thought they were, because you never saw them. You saw your anima, your animus, your spiritual thirst, your unhealed self, all projected into their smile, their silence, their cruelty. They didn't become a monster. You turned them into one. And until you reclaim your projection, every love you enter will end the same way. With you shattered, sobbing, asking, how could they do this to me? When the real question island, why did you need them to? You can curse me, you can rationalize it, but you can't escape this truth.